There's no rules!
Do the lower floor!
There's one rule!
Welcome back to the back porch of Franklin Bridge. It's the No Mulligans podcast. Scott Hassey and Jack Beard here on the mics, along with our special guest here, which you can see on video if you're over on YouTube. Just a reminder to go to No Mulligans podcast on YouTube if you want to watch us. And currently we're overlooking the 18th green here, the Island Green at Franklin Bridge.
At sunset.
At sunset on the eve of our U.S. Amateur qualifier.
Dude,
here.
it's so big. The golf course looks so good right now.
So Tate and I got to play 3 holes with one of our buddies just now, right before we came and filmed. And that little collection area by 17, like right below the green, it is carpet. It is absolute carpet right now.
Well, and remember how bad number 9 green was?
Yeah.
They're opening it back up
for this
event, and I think it's going to stay open going forward.
Now, do you think that's going to be first of all, I want to ask, what's the condition of number 9 right now? And 2,
it's incredible.
Do you think that will be something that plays into the tournament tomorrow?
We need to show it.
Or the qualifier, excuse me.
Yeah, we need to show the image. I need to send it to Tate so he can post it. But, like, the before and after of this thing is absolutely... I mean, incredible.
It just never got any time. It never got any time to heal when it first, came in.
Look at that.
Oh my goodness.
That's 6 weeks, I think.
Yeah, that's great. And for those of you who are listening to this right now, it's on our YouTube and it's laid over right there. So perfect plug to go check us out there.
I'm going to send this over to Tate right now. So,
perfect.
Jack, what are we doing today?
Yeah, well, we are joined here with, first of all, he is his own entity in his own right, an amazing human being in his own right. But this is Scott, or Scooter, as you guys know, is our club fitter here, and we had him on the podcast a couple months ago. Yep. But this is Scott's protege, but he is just as much his own entity as Scott is. This guy is a world-class golfer. He knows what he's doing in the shop. He can get you right if you feel like your clubs are not treating you so good. So I will say, I don't know any of your accolades, but
and the club repair
I'm sure
incredible.
I mean, I've heard about a little bit. I just don't know them off the top of my head. Bad host right here. But it's Dustin Thomas, everyone. Dustin Thomas.
Yeah, great to be here, guys. It's been great the last few months being here at Franklin Bridge. The welcoming has been incredible. We've been super busy.
Oh, yeah.
People are flowing in. Like, even today, I ended up with, like, 4 lessons, or fittings, I should say.
Yeah.
A bunch of club work, the whole 9 yards, but it's been incredible.
How about the new facilities, too, that you're working out of?
The shop
great.
is second to none. I mean, I bring my boys in here, and just to show them, and they're like, this is a kid's playground.
This is better. This is better than a lot of the private clubs in the area.
One of the guys brought his wife, and she literally had to drag him out of there.
Yeah.
We had been there for an hour and a half just looking at shafts and clubs and everything you could imagine, and he was like, I need a whole new set. And I'm like, you actually don't, but it's just because you're in here right now.
Right. Well, it's neat. I was in there. They didn't have any fittings going on the putter side, so, like, I stepped in and did a putting lesson in the putting studio, and, like, I'm in there, and he's got 2 new, like, club repair orders that just walk in. I was like, okay, well, he's going to be busy this afternoon.
Dude, not only that, but, like, I think what's so cool about Franklin Bridge is that it's a golf club that's centered around the game rather than when you get, like, an old, like a stereotypical country club, which is more of like the social club aspect, and golf's just a part of it, right? And so I think that's what's so cool is all of our members just gravitate around this game, and the fact that you're here and Scooter's here, like, helping us out with getting the game right from the club standpoint. I think that's a service that is rarely offered at golf courses.
Yeah, I feel right now, not to, like, name drop, but I feel like we're hitting a market that's directly in between what would be like a golf club or a Hillwood, Belmead, thing like that, where it's kind of uppity golf, but also at the same time, we're not a Troubadour, which is pure just partying.
Yeah.
But we're still focused on a lot of fun.
Yes.
But we have so much better, like, Troubadour doesn't really have fitting facilities. It doesn't have a putting lab. It doesn't have, hey, I broke my 8-iron, let me go get it fixed.
You don't have a massive teaching team that's...
Exactly.
Like, you don't have...
The quad, the TrackMan, the studio, everything is down there, too.
I think what is being built here is kind of the best of those both worlds, and you're merging here in the middle.
100%.
Well, speaking of the merging in the middle, it's been neat to, like, have a number of our students, like, go over and get fit And, like, I had a guy in there that I remember texting Scott and Dustin. I was like, I know this guy doesn't have the right club. Like, I've got him swinging the way I want. The path, face, attack angle numbers are fantastic. And he's not hitting it anywhere close to where he is. And Dustin fit him like a week or two ago. Then we got the club in, then kind of did back and came back and did a little retest. And it's like, he doesn't charge extra for that, right? It's like, hey, I just want to make sure it's right.
Yeah.
And so and the guy had just bought his driver. I was like, oh, dude, I'm sorry, but, like, you're not even close. So we got him fit, got the new driver in, and picked up how many yards? And Dustin did the fit.
So originally,
gonna blow your mind.
the guy came in. I mean, he is the most muscular human I've ever met. Also,
He is a huge dude.
and you're talking very. I mean, just if you can think about strength, he's it.
Does he have club head speed?
Not at the moment, but we're working on it.
Sure.
He actually holds, which is crazy. I'm gonna brag on him a little bit. He's actually in his age group, 40 to 50. He holds the Tennessee State deadlifting record.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, this dude is a beast.
He's huge.
So when he figures this out, it's going to be incredible.
Yeah.
But he came in and he was like, I really like this tireless driver. I want to order it. I'm going to, but I don't know what shaft to do it. So I ended up fitting him. We got him into a club. But at the beginning of the fitting, his best drive was like 242. Today
That's as good as he could hit it.
Yeah, the best one, as good as he could hit it, the best numbers we could get it with what he had. We had it at 242. Today he came back to test what we fit him for, and the best was 282.
Nice.
40
my
yards.
God, yeah.
And his average drive was
273.
45,
Yeah,
was
273 was his
45
average.
yards longer.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's really neat to do the combo of, like, the instruction. I was like, I got him as far as I can get him. And because of his size, we've talked about hitters on. I got there
All
we
right,
go.
we're back.
Come on. Okay.
Tate just cut that so you guys didn't have to hear your ears bleed.
So, but it's like, so he's in a different category of swinging the golf club. But, like, he's not going to rotate. It's all going to be out of his chest and his arms. And so, like, getting him into out, like, Dustin was able to continue, like, to make sure, like, hey, nope, that's not the motion you're working on. Like, get over there.
Yeah.
And then to get the fit timed up with it, it's like, that's how it's supposed to be. That's how it's done on the tour, right? Like, you've got the instructor, you've got the physical therapist, you've got the club fitters, all working together towards what they need.
What I thought was the best part about that whole fitting was not to say that me and you are on the same wavelengths teaching, that we probably are not, but I've only seen him swing twice. Hassie's been working with him for a long time. He came into me today, and I started working. I was like, hey, I want you to do this. And Hassie walks by and was like, that's literally what we've been working on. And we had not even pre-talked about it.
That's
so
cool.
we were literally like mixing it, the same lingo right to him to then all of a sudden start gaining 40 yards overall. The biggest stat was he went from carrying it like 220 to now carrying it around the 260 number, which
Nice.
That is the big thing.
For
Because
sure.
now he can carry some things that he used to not be able to, which is a big thing. And I mean, especially par 4s, par 5s, where he's got to carry water or something. Can't do
Totally.
it.
Well, which I think is a perfect segue here into talking about you and how talented of a golfer you actually are as well. Because I think that's what a lot – I'm hesitant to go to anybody else but the people here to get my game right, because if I go to another big box retailer or somebody else, like, I don't know how good you actually are, right, when you're making my clubs, right? Like, and I think that's the benefit about coming here is you have somebody like Scott Wilkerson who's been on the tour for over 20 years, have you who is an insane golfer who knows what the golfers need, right? So I'd love to spend a little bit of time talking about you, your golf journey, and how many course records do you have at this point?
So currently, I only have 2 that I know of.
Okay.
But
over the course.
But one of them's TPC Deer Run, where they just hosted the John Deere Classic. So
Props to that. That's incredible.
for amateurs.
That's
it
sweet.
may have fallen, but the last that I knew was I had Scott check it when he was up there.
Yeah.
It was still there.
Well, that's incredible.
That's
like
sweet.
those courses have, like, the really top end separate out PGA Tour from amateurs, which is really neat.
Yeah, so I think what I shot was 66 that day, and the PGA Tour is 59. Now, granted, we played it in late April, early May, Chicago-type weather, cold and wet. They're playing it hot and firm.
It's
I
still
still don't understand those
it's a
7
hard
more
golf
strokes.
course. I know you're like,
Like,
where
I don't
did
know
those
where
come from?
I don't know where those came from.
No, it's really neat. Like, our entire team is incredibly talented across the board. And so, like, Elijah's a great player for him to be on the golf course. Like, Dustin's got a background in caddying and great playing and coached by Wilkerson as well. So talk about that experience a little bit. Like, that's kind of where you and Scott got connected, right? Was in the coaching world.
So I originally signed to play golf at Tennessee Tech in Cookeville. I didn't even apply to go to school anywhere else. The person who ended up teaching me how to play golf, Bobby Nichols, he was the coach at Tech. He passed away. Couldn't go there anymore. It wasn't a possibility with them bringing in a new coach. They were also going to limit the team. They granted Bobby 15 players because he had been there for so long. But so they shrank it down to 8. Said, hey, you need to find somewhere else in a much nicer way than that, but kind of alluded that, hey, you're probably not going to be on the team. So
that happens so often, dude. I had that happen with a player recently, a big coach change, and she can't play her 5th year. It's like,
gosh,
what? Like,
yeah. So
and she's like 6'7" on the team. It's like, what?
Yeah. So what happened was Scott was at Bobby Nichols' funeral because he played for Bobby. And I met him there in passing, kind of just wasn't thinking anything about it. About 3 or 4 days later, it hits me. It's like, hey, he said he coached college golf. I'm going to reach out. I didn't have any of his numbers, but I found his email online. I sent him an email, and I just told him my story. And he said, well, if you're good enough for Bobby, then you're good enough for me, but I'd love to see you play. So I went up and played with him the next day. And so this is like 4 days after the funeral. Now I'm playing with Scott. I think I played pretty well. Front nine was awful. Back nine was great. Finally got, like, not nervous. Yeah, exactly. Trying to play for my way to college. And he sits there and goes, hey, I don't have a full ride to give you, but I'll give you half. And if you play good, I'll give you full for a second semester. Are you in? I said, where do I sign? And he had already brought the papers. So I signed that day.
So good.
Had never seen the school, nothing. He's like, do you want to see it? I said, I'll see it the first day. We'll be all right.
That's so good. But I love that just because that like, I think that right there is like the perfect like seed that was sown that day for like y'all's relationship that's gotten to now.
Yeah, it's like
how like give us time period. Like when was that?
So that was April of 2008. And so school started in the middle of August. I mean, there was no time passed. You know, I mean, it had to happen fast. It was lucky that he had the scholarship.
I was in my junior
funds.
year of college. As you're going into your freshman year.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize y'all were that close in age.
Yeah.
How old are you?
33.
I'm 36.
25.
We are the old ones here, bud.
That's right.
Yeah, like, so how can you trust somebody that you really haven't met, and he fully put his trust in me to come be a part of the team? So I was forever grateful for that, and just worked my tail end off for him, and he could see it, and our bond kind of grew really quickly after that.
Man, I think that's just really cool to see, just because you can see that trust already built, like on the first day right there. Like the fact that he brought the papers, and the fact that you were so nervous through that first 9 because you really wanted to impress him, right?
So we're basically 15 years, too, at this point.
Yeah, like so from 15 years we've known each other.
When's our 15-year anniversary?
All right, we got a ways to go, bro. We're on 3 right now.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been better part of my whole, adult life. I mean, he's been there.
That's cool.
So,
I mean, quite literally, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like 18.
18, away from home, and he's kind of the person I'm talking to the most every day.
Yeah.
There was one other guy named Jim Griffin who was awesome and kind of molded me, but to have both of those guys, Scott was just such an influence, though, to really just keep pushing me into golf. He saw more in me than I saw in myself at the time.
Yeah. It's really neat to see, like, just to hear that reminds me of some of my relationships with other men and women in my life that have, like, helped bring me along. And those types of people you never forget, right? We all have one or two of those, and it's part of who we are, right? It's part of why we do the podcast the way we do, and you have some people that come along, and I think everybody needs like an extra like father figure or mother figure in their life that isn't their parents. No matter how good your parents are, you need like some other people along the way to latch onto that like see in you and like believe in you, and they challenge you,
Yeah,
and they push you in ways that are different than your parents.
Yeah, because they come from a completely different background.
Right.
Their experiences are so much different, and their way
Right.
of life and how they handle situations is so much different. If you can find, I mean, he's just been the greatest friend that I could possibly have. And I've jokingly told him that he's going to be in my wedding for forever. And he's like, I'm not going to be in your wedding. I'm going to be like the oldest guy there. I'm like, I don't care.
He's going to be wearing his same USD Mama Ya
He will
shop
be, yeah.
button down.
Maybe he can walk you
great
down the
button
aisle.
down.
You know,
he might as well at that point. But yeah, he it's that important.
You'll have to make
me.
sure he doesn't forget the rings. Like he'll
We-
he'll leave them somewhere.
That guy's brain is everywhere, and I understand it.
That's the way Hank was too. Which is
Dustin, do you think that there was like a time? Because I know that we were talking, and we talked just now about joking about him being in your wedding. We were talking before the podcast about some of the experiences afterwards where you guys have been friends. Now, I'm curious because there's obviously a transition, right, between him being coach and him being a friend, and we kind of talked a little bit about that. Can you take us through like those first 3 years of your college career where he actually was coach, and some of the lessons that he taught you, or stories that you might have about him not only being a great friend but a great coach as well?
The first 3 years were so much different than the last year. The last year, it was I took way too many hours. Kind of got away from golf, just trying to get finished. So I didn't get to see him as much as I would have liked to in that last year. I ended up doing an internship at Seymour. That was 400 hours. So that was a greater part of my last semester senior year. I also took 20 hours on top of that 400 just so I could graduate. So the golf course was rarely seen. I pretty much just showed up for tournaments. But the first 3 years was kind of crazy, and like I was teetering on that 5 to 6 line, but somehow I kept making it in tournaments. And I went to every event, but like I'd always be on the cusp. But he always kept saying like, "Hey, you're gonna click," and he kept telling me you're gonna click. Really had this faith in me that at some point it was gonna start happening. And
Those
then-
words matter so much.
Completely agree.
Like-
You're going to click.
Yeah, and it has to come from a place of knowledge, not like just trying to make you feel good.
And
he knew,
coming
he
from
could see
a
it.
specific person
Yeah,
as well.
well,
right.
It means nothing from the wrong person.
Right.
If it would have came from a normal coach, I don't think I would have really. I'd be like, okay, well, he's just coaching me. Coming from a guy who's been on the PGA Tour and seeing guys click every day, and he's like, you're close to clicking. That was the big kicker. So that was like a big coaching. He really fed into me positivity. Ended up having some good finishes, won a few times, and then freshman year, that's when I set that course record at TPC. There was so much coaching in that, even that spring semester, that I forgot more than I could ever imagine. But he was just instrumental. It was crazy. He taught me a lot of faith in myself. There's a lot of times where I was afraid to go deep. That's kind of something that me and Hassie have talked about. You can't really teach that, but you can push people and hope that they understand it. He definitely did that a lot of times.
And you can put them in an environment where they have the chance to learn it.
Or fail safely.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he was very good about just being there at the right times, letting me figure it out on my own, but also every so often, I mean, as a coach, you're supposed to know the shots on the course that are going to be tough for the kid. He was very aware of being there right at the same exact time that I was most likely going to need that help on that shot.
That's the way my coach was in college too. Like we had a similar experience with that. It's like there are certain guys you just need to leave alone for pretty much everywhere except for like right there.
Yeah, right. I mean, it was like 5 shots around that he knew I would struggle with, but he could talk me into hitting it better.
Yeah.
Now, I know we've talked about Scott Wilkerson a lot, but and I know you're so humble of a guy, you're not going to talk about yourself in that way. But what did that mean to you? How did what he did affect you and who you are today, who you were as a golfer back then, and how that translates to today?
It was when I grew up playing travel baseball, my dad was like my coach. He was a third base coach, hosted our team. We had kids from like Nashville, Cookeville, Knoxville, and we were very successful. But it was always like from those guys in that realm were very like complimentary of my baseball. So I never had to like worry about, oh, I'm good. In golf, there was not a single person ever that, I mean, there's one, Greg White, my swing coach in Crossville. who really helped me. He was like, "Hey, you're an athlete. You're going to be good." He was kind of the only one, but I'm paying him for lessons. He's going to tell me like, "Hey, you're good." The first person to really believe in me was Scott, and that was, I think I called my mom like crying. I was like, "This is the first guy that actually believes," and that was huge.
That's great. Yeah, that is great.
It's funny. Who's that? Not necessarily golf related. Who's that person for you?
It's so hard because I've got such a big ego as far as like I'm gonna figure it out. Like it's gonna be me. And I feel like it's really hard for me to do that. I would say I have one person in my life who's been like my best friend from probably 8th grade. Probably still through to today. We've seen each other less over the last 5 years, but it's like I know that when I call him, he will pick up and the conversation will pick up right where it left off, like no time passed. He's that guy for me that I can call with no judgment. But I'd say, Hassy, like you're definitely up there yourself. No, but I say that in a legitimate way because Dustin was talking earlier just about growing that confidence within like an environment. And I was with you in probably one of the lowest times of my life, and golf and being so good at the game or like progressing from nothing to now has really rebuilt my confidence in my life too. So I owe you a lot for that because golf has taught me a lot, and I think golf has saved my life in a few ways too. So I'd say that you're definitely up there for me.
Well, I appreciate that. I think that's one of the reasons why we do what we do. It's a community. It's funny just to kind of hear his story. I'm like, that so fits like the bridge, right? And as I asked you the question, I'm like, crap, Jack's probably going to ask me to answer the same question. I don't know that I can answer it. I would say that person for me was in college. I was so afraid of the guy. My freshman, sophomore, and junior year, I was like, so intimidated by this guy. Like, he's like the like dad of the entire athletic department, and he's been there. He played 3 sports. He's got all these records at the school, and like his faith is really important. So you're like, he's like this ominous figure. You're like, who are you? Like, I'm kind of afraid. I connected with him my senior year, right before I left my junior year for summer. I was like, man, his name's Fody. And like, that was huge. Like, my senior year is probably
I've heard that name before. Yeah.
The most fruitful year for me was that senior year. I'm like, I'm an idiot. Like, if I had started this back in my sophomore year, things would have been a whole lot different. And I think now for me, Brooks is that figure for me here. And so, like, yes, I had Hank along the way the whole time, but like the actual belief in me to do it was, I didn't get that from Hank.
I think it's a cool relationship too for you because Brooks is your boss as well. So the fact that that is a legitimate relationship that's also a working relationship, I think that's even cooler.
And that's hard to find.
Well, I think
Scott's kind of that.
Yeah.
For you now.
Yeah, and he is, and that's part of like to circle back to the friendship. Like that transition we made was after we were sitting, and he may or may not like me sharing this story, but I'm gonna share it with you. We were sitting. I won conference my junior year. I shot 66 the final round to win by 1, and we get to go to nationals and. We were sitting there kind of he planned a whole trip where we would go up earlier, and we got to go watch a Cubs series. And, hanging out with your coach became now my friend in that 3 days where we're sitting there watching Cubs baseball and going to like bars and getting popcorn because they serve the best popcorn at these bars, getting anything in pizza, you name it. We're pigging out for 3 days.
Was it in Wrigleyville by chance?
Probably.
Some of it?
Yeah, we rode one of those bikes, that got pedals down.
Yeah.
We rode that every day. This was an incredible experience for, a 21-year-old.
That's such a Scott Wilkerson thing to do, to hop in the back of one of those.
Well, we were walking, and we're like, man, we're not doing this. And we were like, how much is it? And he was like, $10. We're like, we're in. I just handed the guy $10. I was like, we're doing it. I was like, we're not walking. We're going to walk the next week at, the course.
That's funny.
But it blossomed from there, and we just sat there, and the practice round, he could see I was really, like, struggling mentally with a lot of things, family, relationships, you name it, and he knew that I needed to get my game to a point to where I could compete at nationals. And he sent me down after dinner, and we sat in the room, and he said, "We're no longer coach and friend, or coaching. You're my kid. This is friend to friend. How can I help you?" And we probably had a 3-hour talk where we barely slept. I mean, we probably talked till 2 or 3 in the morning, and able to just open up about anything and everything. And he was an open ear, and then a good person, like good responses, good openness to do it. And then the next day, like go out there and be like, "Hey man, are you okay?" And was checking on me and was like, and it came completely. It wasn't a coach asking if I was okay. And in that like little moment, our friendship twisted, and I think that was when. Now it was not coach player. It was we're really good friends. He knew everything about me.
That's so cool, and just hearing you say that like affirms what I already believe about him, because I've met Scott Wilkerson. I mean, of course I've seen him, but like we've sat down and we've had like a proper conversation probably 3 or 4 times, right? But every single time I drive by, I go, "Scooter, what's up?" And he goes, "Hey, buddy." Like he just like he's that guy like all the time, and it's like he's a friend, right? Yeah. And I think that's just really cool when you can have somebody who is open and honest enough about their own feelings to be able to give that to somebody else, right? I think that's so cool.
Well, it's interesting. When I first came up here, like my email is scotth@franklinbridgegolf.com on purpose. Like nobody else has their last name initial on their email because we had anticipated potentially Scott coming on as a part of the team, and Brooks wanted to clear everything with me first. He's like, "You're my first guy to bring up here to build it to where we want to build it to take it where it need to, bring in other people to do things that you really aren't your best at doing, you don't enjoy doing. Like, we got to bring in great people, right?" But, like, the dangerous part about that around the tour and getting to be around Hank and seeing this and, like, you getting to be around Scott, like, there's a lot of big egos. They're like, "Look at me. Look at how much I know." And in the first, and you know how quick I read people, right? In the first, like, 30 seconds around Wilkerson and Brooks when I first met him, I was like, he's the right guy if we can get him. I don't even know if we can get him. Like, I know he's friends with Brooks, but, like, to pull a guy that's been on the tour for 20 years, like, how do you get a guy like that? But I was like,
but doesn't act like
I was
he's
so
been on tour.
refreshed by that. And, like, every industry has this, right? Like, you have everybody's trying to toot their own horn. You got your own Instagram stuff. And it's like, it's why I try to do most things through the FBPI and just a little bit on our personal. But it's just like, everybody's like, look at me, I got to protect me. I was like, that's why it's the Franklin Bridge Performance Institute, not the Scott Hassey, not the Scott Wilkerson, not the Dustin Thomas, not the No Mulligans Golf School. Like, it's not, it's the Franklin Bridge Performance Institute. We have great people who are great at their job. Like, and Wilkerson, I didn't get that vibe off of him, and I was so refreshed by that because being around it, just like, it seems to be like 7 out of 8 or 7 out of 10 guys, it's just like,
You know what's even crazy about that too is like with Franklin Bridge here, and Dustin, I don't know if you felt this. This is kind of how I feel about the bridge. Is that like it seems like when everybody's here, everybody got in, and everybody who our original members here got in at such a crucial time to where all the egos feel like, and of course I'm saying in generality, right? But all the egos have almost been swallowed, and it's like, hey, this is like our place to like let loose and hang out, rather than it being like a me kind of deal. And I think that's why I love the bridge, is because like the focus is on the golf and the community rather than in the individuals.
And Brooks makes it so much about all of us.
Right.
Like, he wants us to shine.
Right.
And I sent him a message this week when I was submitting payroll. I was like, so proud of the team that we have here. And like, Dustin and Scott are kind of in their own space in a lot of ways. But it's like, Brooks, you've got the U.S. Amateur Qualifier, and for a public facility to get that after it's only been owned for less than 5 years, from the negative press,
oh my God,
how heavy that negativity was about the place.
Dustin, I wish you could have walked into the clubhouse at the old spot.
So I played here back a couple times when 18 was the par 5. You had to hit over the houses.
Yeah.
There'd be like scrambles. I wouldn't even come down here unless there was like a chance to win cash. I mean, unless I was coming down here to like for something, I wasn't coming down here. I mean, that was like my thought process. And then 2 years ago, my buddy calls me and he's like, "Hey, I got a Saturday like 10 o'clock tee time. Let's go out and play." And so I show up and I got a beer, a hot dog, and like my round, and all that, and the price
your
was
warm-up
great,
bucket, yeah.
and a warm-up bucket, and it was for one price. Everywhere else you go, it's a
Ding, 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 ding.
Exactly. And I was like, this is all together. We need to start coming out here more. And immediately it flipped. I went from being like, let's not go out there to we need to be going out there more.
Well, and I've even heard some people look at like that don't play here on the regular, but they do play here. They're not members. They're like, man, he's gotten really expensive on the price. I was like, if you go and play everywhere else and get all the stuff that you get for like, you got to pay for your warm up bucket.
Hold on.
You got to
It
pay
includes
for
your cart. It includes your warm-up bucket. It includes your lunch. It includes a beer. It includes 18 holes of premium golf.
Right. Like,
It's ridiculous.
For like the
if
public
you
price,
went-
it's not even that bad.
if you
It's
went to
under
another
$100.
public facility, you'd actually end up spending more than you're spending here. For
100%.
So I don't
100%
mean to throw anybody on the bus, but I went to Gaylord recently, and I tried to buy a bucket of balls pre-round. It was $20.
That's where
Yeah.
that's where range balls are going.
I was like, I've just paid $90
Off
to
of
play.
mats and a short range.
Yeah, I was like, I just paid $90,
Yeah.
and it's $20 to get the warm up. They're like, yeah. I was like, not doing it. And then I walked to the bar, and it was like, hey, I'm trying to get a sandwich. It was like $14. It's like, yeah, not doing it. I'm just gonna eat
I'm
later
just gonna
tonight. Exactly.
I'll have a pizza.
It's gonna be okay. I'll make it.
But
Oh my
like
God.
Brooks has made all those things, and so I told Brooks, I said, "Hey, like, this is about you this time. I know you make it about everybody else, but like, be proud of what you've done and the hard work that you put in to be able to bring special events here.
For sure.
And the work that Adam's done off of a terrible winter and a terrible fall from a weather standpoint. Everywhere in Tennessee struggled, and we are thriving right now. Like Brooks and Adam together working to get this place where it needs to be. And I said, you're going to notice, like Brooks and I notice all the little errors that we can make better. I said, don't pay attention to those things. Be proud of the work that you've done. We need to pat you on the back a little bit once in a while. Like, this is your
Yeah.
day. Be
Yeah.
proud of it.
There's one rule.